One of the world's richest men, a filmmaker, an aviator, a giant business mogul. Howard Hughes left behind a legacy that keeps growing. American National Biography has named Hughes a man impossible to advise. But it seems Hughes didn't really need advising. He had enough money from all of his businesses that he conducted that he could pretty much do what he pleased. Actually, History.com reports Hughes buying a Las Vegas hotel for $13 million just because the owner wanted to kick him out. Howard was an extremely unique man. It's part of the reason he is so recognized among audiences today. His business schools sometimes failed, but his demeanor to keep trying, even when faced with death, is part of the reason that I admire him so much. His early life history, fascination with planes and movies, and his obsessive mental state are all part of the reason that he is an interesting business person to admire. Howard Hughes lost both of his parents in his teens. Their death affected the rest of his life choices. Next, Howard ventured into other areas of business such as aviation and filmmaking. His failures outlined his successes. His life and body was examined 20 years later, and it was found that his mental disorder came in part from his mother. Although his mental decline made him a recluse, he still conducted business deals. A legacy left behind, it all seemed to start when Hughes's parents passed away. Hughes's parents died 2 years apart from each other. His mother died after surgery and his father after a fatal heart attack. The American National Biography says the loss of his parents in the prime of their lives had a profound effect on the lonely, withdrawn Hughes. According to the Journal of National Cancer Institute, Howard Hughes founded the Howard Hughes Medical Institute in 1953. The president of HHMI, Pernell Chopin, and said Hughes's interest in medical research may have begun in his teens after his parents died prematurely. After his parents died, Howard Hughes inherited his father's oil company, about 75% of it, making him a millionaire at 18 years old. But Hughes, being Hughes, bought out the other 25% that was dispersed to the relatives. This created a ton of resentment among him and his relatives. But it didn't really seem to bother Hughes that much. According to American National Biography, he declared that in order to take command, it was necessary to be tough on people, and it was an attitude from which he never wavered. Hughes's parents' death provided positive and negative impacts on his life choices. Hughes's unwavering attitude and effect from his childhood is what drove him to be such a demanding director and record-setting aviator. Hughes had a fascination for making things. Whether it was planes or movies, Hughes was obsessive. His successful career also led to the downfall of it. Although Hughes's first film, Swell Hogan, flopped so badly it wasn't even released, his next couple films, such as Mating Call, The Racket, paved the way for Hughes's obsessive compulsion with aviation. Hell's Angels was a film Hughes produced, and it was really seen in there his fascination for airplanes and his obsessive compulsion to always be flying them. This according to Elizabeth Nix from History.com. Hell's Angels was a production that cost millions of dollars, and it took so much time for it to make back all the money it was spent on it. His wife at the time, Ella Rice, left him claiming it was impossible to be married to a man so obsessed with his work. That according to American National Biography. In the mid-1930s and 40s was the height of Hughes's career, but a flying accident changed his life forever. He was winning awards, transcontinental speed records. He became part of the Trans World Airlines, making him a very successful commercial airline. He was doing all these things, making more money, and then he had a plane accident in 1946. He was given a 50-50 chance to live, according to the Los Angeles Times. After the plane crash, Hughes became his already declining mental state made him more of a recluse. He went to his Las Vegas hotel home that he had purchased, according to the editors at biography.com. Hughes became obsessive about germs and lived in high paranoia. Hughes' obsessive fascination and increasing paranoia after his plane crash caused him to be a recluse. Hughes' declining mental disorder eventually led to his death, and his life and body was examined 20 years after his passing. A psychological autopsy was done on Hughes 20 years later to discover the origins of his mental disorder, according to the American Psychological Association. A gentleman, Raymond D. Fowler, conducted the psychological autopsy on Howard Hughes in his last years. The research led Fowler to believe that his mother was responsible for his extreme paranoia and his germophobia. His mother was terrified when he was young that he was going to catch polio, a major health threat at the time, according to the American Psychological Association. In his last years, Hughes refused medical treatment and did not eat properly. In the 1960s, he lived on the top floor of his desert inn in Las Vegas, but he still conducted all of his business from the hotel suite. Few people ever saw him, which led to much public speculation and rumors about his activities, according to the editors of Bio. Hughes did not let his mental disorder define his business dealings. He still conducted them throughout the rest of his life. Hughes was a different kind of businessman, but his failures are what led him to his greatest successes. Although the death of his parents had a profound impact on his mental psyche, it is also what led him to start an institution to fund medical research. His love of aviation and movies that he produced and flew was channeled through the successful movies. Although the plane crash changed his life, it still did not prevent him from conducting business deals. Howard Hughes died a successful man who never let his failures define him. Howard Hughes may have had his oddities about him, but that never stopped him from creating and inventing even when it almost took his life. It is an inspiration to never give up.